Hello, BookTube. It's Wednesday. I didn't get any post or mail today at work, so I don't have anything to show you there. But I thought I'd show off a set of books. Andrew B. Has a great channel, and his most recent video had to do mostly with Liberty books. A publisher I'm familiar with, but didn't know really much about. And it looks like they're a fantastic reprint publisher for, I guess you would say now, obscure history, philosophy, humanities. And by the looks of it, they know how to make books because they're cloth bound, they're sewn, and they look fantastic, and they're reset. Looks like they're all reset for the print as well. They look very nice. And Andrew was showing off David Hume's essays collection, single volume, plus his History of England that they did. I think it was 3 volumes for the History of England. And I mentioned that I have a 19th century in the notes, a 19th century edition of David Hume's History of England. And as Andrew pointed out, yeah, there was just been dozens and dozens and dozens of sets of these. But most of them are in rough shape, as he points out, because I used to have a set in Canada that was rough, and almost every one that I've seen has been really, really rough condition, whether leather bound or not. And you have to go large amounts of money to get something that's in good shape. However, I bided my time, and I've got an 18-volume set here. It's Hume's History of England, but then it was continued by Tobias Smollett, and then continued by someone called Hughes, the Reverend T.S. Hughes, that brings it up to the accession of Queen Victoria. And this is a nice set. It's 1854-55. They're smaller volumes. They've got a bit of bruising to corners, but they are, I would say, as near to fine that you can get for something that's from 1854. The pages are still very nice and supple. The printing is a bit small for my liking, but it's not insurmountable. And this is volume 1, and it's belonged to someone called G.J. Armstrong, Newcastle upon Tyne, and it's got his signature up at the top and a book plate. And yeah, and they are illustrated. Andrew was asking, illustrated with nice plates throughout. It's just a wonderful set. The first 5, I think it is the David Hume. But as I say, they're all in the same vein for condition-wise. There's darkening along the top from age. But again, this has the previous owner's name, and it was apparently sold by a Hodgson in Brampton, I think it is, Brampton. And yeah, it just continues on the same way. Some of the pages are a little, they've had a minor accident with something shoving into them. There's a few like that throughout, but they're very, very minor. Especially for the age. And it just continues on with more of the illustrations. That's volume 2. Volume 3. Again, and they're all just sort of, this is the original green binding. There is some fading to it, but it was all, that's the sort of typical binding of the time. There's a nice frontispiece, and as I said, I'll show you the title page. It's by George Bell, which was a big publisher, and it would not have been a fancy publication or a super expensive publication either. But this is 1854. Somebody's put in the tissue paper loosely laid in for most of the illustrations, and there is some yellowing of the tissue paper, so I'm going to have to think about maybe get rid of them. So that was volume 3. Volume 4, same, it's 1558 to 1622, and just very much the same. Nice engravings. I'll try to go through these quickly because it's a long time. I have read Hume just by himself, the Hume history from cover to cover, but that must have been 30 years ago, 35, 40 years ago. And I'd always wanted a nice set, and like I say, I've bided my time, and I'd like Smollett as well, to buy a Smollett, so I thought I'd wait till I could get a complete thing. And there's Charles with a facsimile of his signature as well, which is nice little additions. I'm not sure if they do that for all the personages on the photos. I just need to find someone else. I'm not sure if there is anybody else in this volume. No. Oh, yeah, there is one here. No, it's just an engraving. But since I found it, I'll show it. That was volume 5. So, yeah, volume 6 ends the Humes, and still 1854, 6th volume. But Andrew was saying that it's not something you would go to you want factual history of England. It's more of a historiographical item of what was important at the time for historians and people that lived at the time. That's why it's fun to read a lot of this old history, because you may not get so much out of the history of what they're writing about, but you get the history of the time that they're writing in many ways. This one ends 1689 to 1706, and just the same way. And then the Smollett starts, 1706, 1744, just continues on the same way. The owner must have ran out of his fancy book plates and started putting in more plain little cards. They actually don't look like book plates. They look like more sort of announcement cards, actually. At some point, these changed to 1855, but no, not this one. Yeah, I think every person that they show, they have a facsimile of their signature. So there's only 3 volumes of Smollett that go from 1706 to 1760. He's back to his more fancy cards in that volume for some reason. And then the next volume is, maybe he just alternates for some reason. But it just continues on. It's the same fashion. And then it starts with volume 11. Is that right? Yeah, volume 11 is this Reverend Hughes. And that takes from 1760 up to 1830, I believe, to the accession of Queen Victoria. But it just, don't need to show them fully individually, but all the volumes, and they're all just as I say, they are probably the best set, condition-wise, that I've seen. Yeah, it goes up to 1837. For this, other than spending thousands of pounds on really, really high quality leather bound editions, or rebound. But this was very reasonable. I don't even want to say, because let's just say Andrew paid probably almost 3 times the amount for his, I think, 3 volumes of Hume that I did for this complete set. I was gobsmacked when I saw this, and I bought it offline from a bookseller, and I couldn't believe the price, so I asked for copious photographs, and I got them, and yeah, and they were better than actually I'd expected them to be. But yeah, so sometimes it does pay to look around for used items rather than the reprints. However, you will be missing with the reprints if they have any essays, any other apparatus in it, appendices, a dictionary of words, possibly historical footnotes and things like that are sort of modern, and that would help a reader now to understand a little better. But no, I'm just very pleased with this, and I've got a few more sets. I've got a History of the 18th Century by Lecky. That one isn't quite as conditioned as this, but I also have his most of his actually writings. I'm just missing a few, but his Ireland in the 18th century as well. But anyway, I'll end it there. Shortish video. I hope you found this of interest. Peg might find it of interest as well at the history shelf, because if she's contemplating buying the Hume, just as another facet to look at, an older edition. Anyway, I will let you go, BookTube, and have a good Wednesday evening.